Yin took a deep breath, her chest filled with a warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. Safety. For the first time in what felt like forever, she didn't feel alone. She felt seen, heard, and understood. Slowly, she inched her body closer to Jungkook's just a few centimeters, enough to truly feel his presence beside her. She knew he wasn't asleep yet. His breathing was too steady. "Jungkook," Yin whispered so softly it was barely audible. Jungkook slowly opened his eyes, turned his head, and found Yin's face so close to his. Their eyes met, and this time, there were no walls, no defenses. "I'm scared," Yin murmured, "scared that if I trust you, one day you'll change your mind and leave." Jungkook reached out, gently cupping her cheek. "I'm not going anywhere. It's okay to be scared. You can be scared, but I'll still be here, and every day, I'll keep showing you, until you believe me." Yin nodded, her eyes glistening with tears, not from pain this time, but from hope. Hope that slowly bloomed inside her, because of Jungkook. And without realizing it, sleep began to pull at both of them. That night, they fell asleep together, not as two strangers caught in an arranged marriage, but as two souls slowly healing one another, gently, but surely. Until finally, a few hours later, Jungkook woke up because he felt restless movements from the body beside him. Yin's breathing was rapid, her body slightly sweaty, and her face looked tense even in sleep. Jungkook immediately knew Yin was having another nightmare. "Yin, hey, wake up," he whispered softly, gently shaking his wife's shoulder. "You're having another nightmare, Yin." With shallow breaths, Yin slowly opened her eyes. Confusion and fear briefly flickered in her gaze, as if she were reliving a painful childhood memory. But the moment her eyes met Jungkook's without thinking, she hugged him tightly. Her hands clutched the back of Jungkook's shirt, her body trembling slightly. "Jungkook, I remembered that moment again," she murmured hoarsely, as if holding back tears. "It was a dream of when my parents were fighting so badly, and then my mom left. She didn't even look at me, she just left." Jungkook returned her embrace, gently rubbing her back, now damp with cold sweat. "I'm here. I'm right here, Yin. You're not alone anymore." Slowly, Yin's heartbeat began to slow, her breathing calming down. She didn't say anything else, only stayed in Jungkook's arms, as if she never wanted to let go. Jungkook kept holding her, running his fingers softly through her hair, feeling her body still tremble slightly in his arms. After a few minutes had passed and Yin's breath had steadied, he carefully spoke up. "Yin, does this happen often?" he asked quietly, his voice full of concern. Yin gave a small nod. "Not every night, but pretty often, especially when I'm exhausted or have too much on my mind." Jungkook sighed lightly, then looked into Yin's eyes. "Would you consider seeing a psychiatrist? They can help you. You don't have to go through this alone." But Yin immediately shook her head, her face tense. "I'm not comfortable sharing my problems with strangers, Jungkook. I even took a long time to open up to you. How can I possibly tell anyone else?" Jungkook understood, but he still tried to gently persuade her. "But they're professionals, Yin. They know how to help. You don't have to tell them everything at once, just take it slow." "I said I don't want to," Yin cut him off, her tone slightly raised, though it sounded more like panic than anger. "You're telling me to see a psychiatrist because you think I'm messed up?" Jungkook quickly looked at her, startled. "What? No, Yin, that's not what I meant." But Yin had already turned her face away. "You're bothered by me, aren't you? By all of this? The nightmares, the past, the way I act?" Jungkook fell silent for a moment. He knew, in this state of mind, Yin could easily spiral into negative thoughts. He knew this wasn't entirely Yin speaking, but her wounds, her unhealed trauma. Gently, he pulled Yin back into his arms, tighter than before. "Listen to me closely. I'm not bothered at all. I'm just worried. I want you to live more peacefully, not because I mind, but because I want you to be happy." Yin stayed silent against his chest, not responding, but her hug grew tighter, as if her fear was slowly being eased by his sincerity. Jungkook didn't push anymore. He knew that time was the key, and he didn't want his suggestion to become another pressure on her. That night, he only wanted Yin to feel safe, understood, loved, unconditionally. The next day, the sun was slowly setting. The sky turned crimson as the evening breeze gently blew through Yin's loose hair. She sat alone in the gazebo at the back of the house, gazing at the yard while sipping a cup of warm tea. The air felt calm, but her mind was still filled with memories from the night before, Jungkook's warm embrace, and the words that made her chest feel both lighter and warmer. Suddenly, her phone rang. The screen showed a name that had become increasingly familiar in her heart, Jungkook. A video call. Unconsciously, Yin smiled softly before answering. Yeah? Jungkook's face appeared on the screen, wearing his work suit and his signature calming smile. Hey, what are you up to? Just sitting in the backyard. Have you had lunch? Yin asked softly, the smile still lingering on her lips. I have, Jungkook replied with a nod. Then, without further delay, he looked at Yin seriously, though his tone remained light. Get ready later, okay? Yin frowned a little. Get ready for what? I'm coming home early today. We're going out for dinner, he said with a smile. Her heart skipped oddly. She didn't know why, but that simple invitation made her cheeks warm up a little. Why so sudden? She asked, trying to hide the nervousness that rose without warning. Because I want to go on a date with my wife, Jungkook answered casually, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Yin went quiet for a moment, then looked away, pretending to sip her tea. Alright, I'll get ready then, she finally replied in a low voice. Good, Jungkook said, his smile widening. Wear something you like, okay? I want to see you smile tonight. The call ended soon after. Yin stayed seated, staring at the now dark screen, yet a faint smile still played on her lips. Tonight, for the first time, she was looking forward to her husband's return, not out of duty, but because she wanted to open her heart. And maybe she was starting to fall for him. No, it was too soon to call it love. That night, there they were, at a luxurious rooftop restaurant atop a 5-star hotel. The night sky was clear, adorned with stars that seemed to shine just for them. A gentle breeze swept through, and the dim lights created a warm, romantic atmosphere. Jungkook walked slowly beside Yin, guiding her to a table that had been specially prepared. A dining table adorned with fresh flowers and a small candle in the center. Yin furrowed her brows slightly, sensing that something felt different about the evening. The place was incredibly quiet. Still, there were no other guests. It was just the two of them and a server who occasionally came by to bring special dishes, one by one, all of them Yin's favorites. Yin looked at Jungkook in confusion, her voice soft. Why is it just us here? A fancy place like this is usually packed, right? Jungkook turned to her and gave a small smile. Because tonight, this place is reserved just for us. Huh? Yin blinked in surprise. You mean, you rented the whole place? Jungkook let out a soft chuckle and shrugged. Not exactly. This hotel is one of mine. Yin was speechless, her lips slightly parted, unsure how to respond. She felt a bit awkward, but couldn't hide her Jungkook, are you serious? Jungkook only smiled calmly. I know you don't like crowds, so I thought maybe something like this would make you feel more comfortable. Yin's heart fluttered. She bit her lower lip gently, a warmth rising in her chest along with a hint of guilt. But you didn't have to go this far. I know, Jungkook gently interrupted, but I wanted to, because you're important to me. Yin lowered her head, trying to hide the blush rising on her cheeks. There was something in Jungkook's voice that made her chest tighten in a beautiful way, not out of pressure, but from feelings that were slowly growing, ones she could no longer ignore. Jungkook reached out and touched her fingers to the table. Enjoy the meal, okay? I just want you to feel at ease tonight. Don't worry about anything else. Yin smiled, her eyes sparkling as she looked at the dishes in front of her. She began to eat with enthusiasm. Jungkook watched her with a soft smile, glad to see that, tonight, his wife was truly enjoying everything he had carefully prepared. After a warm dinner filled with calming silence, Yin and Jungkook didn't head home right away. The night sky was still breathtaking, with a gentle breeze carrying the scent of flowers and the flickering city lights stretching far below them. They stood at the edge of the rooftop balcony, on the 43rd floor, high enough to see the sparkling lights of the city sprawled beneath them. Yin rested both hands on the glass railing, gazing down with a faint smile, while Jungkook stood beside her, looking at her, not the city. Do you come here often? Yin asked softly, breaking the silence. Jungkook shook his head. Not really, usually only for work meetings, but tonight is different. A few seconds passed in silence. Then suddenly, Jungkook slowly stepped a little closer, standing just a bit nearer than before. He looked at her with a gentle yet determined gaze. Yin, he whispered, barely louder than the breeze. Yin turned to him, and without warning, their eyes met. For a long moment, that gaze spoke volumes of sincerity, of a feeling that had quietly grown, and of the courage to take a small step closer. Carefully, he raised his hand, touching Yin's cheek gently. May I kiss you? He asked, not demanding, just seeking permission. Yin didn't answer. She only looked into his eyes. I won't force you if you're not ready. Jungkook began to lower his hand. but Yin's small hand quickly reached up, stopping him, holding his hand against her cheek, now cold from the wind. She didn't speak, but the soft smile on her lips appeared, and then she gave a small nod, giving him permission. And in that moment, Jungkook no longer hesitated. He slowly leaned in and gently pressed his lips against hers. Jungkook's kiss was so gentle, as if he wasn't just touching Yin's lips, but also her heart. Every movement of his lips was careful, full of emotion, as if he were trying to convey all the sincerity he couldn't put into words. And somehow, that touch made Yin's heart feel at peace. All the fears, all the wounds that had burdened her mind for so long, seemed to melt away in the warmth of their first kiss. Slowly, the kiss began to change, from something soft and hesitant to something deeper, more honest, as if both of them were finally letting the feelings they had held back flow freely. His hand gently gripped her waist, holding her steady. His lips and tongue moved more eagerly now, completely immersed in the moment they were sharing. He didn't care if anyone saw them. The soft sound of their kiss whispered through the air. Yin, too, was losing control, returning his kiss with equal depth. Her knees grew weak, her heart raced wildly, and her mind went blank, filled only with one thing: her husband, Jungkook. When they finally ran out of air, they slowly pulled away. Their breaths were shallow and quick, but their eyes remained locked, deep and sincere. No words were spoken, and none were needed, because in that very moment, both of them knew their hearts had finally accepted one another, without doubt, without limits. And that night, Yin finally began to feel that Jungkook's embrace and kiss were home. 1 month later. Tonight, around 11 o'clock, Jungkook woke up once again. They had only been asleep for about 30 minutes, but Yin's body started to stir restlessly beside him. Her breathing was uneven, her forehead damp with sweat, and her body slightly trembling. The nightmare had returned. Without waiting any longer, Jungkook turned toward her and gently tried to wake her. Yin, hey, wake up, you had another nightmare. Yin slowly blinked, her eyes fluttering open, her vision still unfocused. But this time, there was no panic like before, only heavy breathing and a tired expression on her face. Jungkook watched her closely, brushing her hair gently. You had another bad dream, didn't you? Yin simply nodded softly, her body still pressed against Jungkook's chest. But this time, she didn't cry. There were no rushed words, just a silence that somehow felt calming. After a few moments of quiet, Jungkook finally spoke in a low voice. I just realized, your nightmares have become less frequent, even in the past week. Tonight's the first time again. Yin paused, then nodded slowly. Yeah, I just realized it too. It used to be almost every night, but now, it's been calmer. She hugged him tighter, her hand slipping under the blanket, seeking deeper warmth from her husband's body. Her head, which had been resting against his chest, began to tilt up, looking at his face under the dim glow of the bedroom. Their eyes met in silence. A warm feeling flowed in her chest. Without realizing it, she began moving her face closer, closer to his. And when their faces were only a few centimeters apart, Yin whispered softly, "Thank you for always being here." Jungkook didn't have a chance to respond because in the next second, her lips were already on his, a soft and slow kiss. Jungkook smiled in the middle of Yin's kiss, his lips moving gently to return his wife's kiss with warmth and deep emotion. This was their second kiss since that romantic night on the rooftop a month ago. But this time, it felt different because they were on the same bed, under the same blanket, in the stillness of the night, accompanied only by the sound of their hearts beating. Their kiss grew more intense. His hand moved up to her cheek, then to the nape of her neck, pulling her even closer. Yin didn't resist at all. Yet in the midst of that warmth, Jungkook slowly pulled away from the kiss. He held his breath for a moment and looked at Yin with dark eyes, trying to remain calm. If we continue, I can't promise anything, he whispered in a low voice, hoarse with restraint. I'm afraid I might lose control. Yin looked at him, but this time, she was the one who leaned in again. Without saying a word, she kissed Jungkook once more, deeper, braver. Jungkook nearly lost his control again, but then he heard Yin's soft whisper between the kisses. I don't mind, if you want more, she whispered with a steady, low voice. Because tonight, I want you too, she said, continuing to kiss her husband. Hearing those words from Yin made Jungkook pause for a moment. There was surprise, a hint of hesitation, but above all, a surge of emotion flooded his chest. Yin pulled back slightly. Their eyes met again, and in her gaze, Jungkook could see full trust and feelings that had finally grown without doubt. Yin, he whispered softly, barely audible. But Yin simply gave him a small smile, her hand gently touching his cheek. And in that moment, Jungkook no longer held back. He kissed his wife again, wholeheartedly, allowing the warmth between them to unfold without limits. Their embrace tightened, their breaths merged. Under the dim light of the room, on the bed that bore silent witness, two hearts that once kept their distance were now truly one. For the first time, they made love at a moment when love had truly grown in their hearts. A few days later, gray clouds hung low in the sky as Yin and Jungkook stood in front of a grave. A gentle breeze blew dried leaves across the stone path of the cemetery. Yin's hand trembled slightly, but Jungkook held it tightly, offering comfort through his warm touch. For the first time, Yin was visiting her mother's grave, and she was doing it with Jungkook. Emotions immediately filled her chest, a deep longing and old wounds she had buried for so long. But Jungkook's hand, constantly stroking her back gently, gave her the strength to stand. He said nothing, simply stood by her side, accompanying her in the quiet of mourning. After several minutes, they finally decided to leave and began walking out of the cemetery toward the car. But Yin's steps suddenly halted. Her gaze landed on a middle-aged man who had just entered the cemetery grounds, her father. In his hand, he held a bouquet of white lilies, her mother's favorite flowers. Their eyes met, both equally surprised. "Yin," her father said softly, full of emotion, "I didn't expect to see you here." Yin swallowed hard, awkwardly. "I didn't expect to see you here either, Dad." The man let out a soft chuckle. "You didn't know? I still come here, at least once a month." Those words left Yin speechless. She lowered her head, unsure how to respond. Meanwhile, Jungkook stood beside her, still holding her hand, offering silent strength. Her father looked at Jungkook and smiled. "Thank you, Jungkook. I know, it must be because of you, right? Because of you, Yin finally came here." Jungkook simply nodded respectfully. Then the man turned back to his daughter. His gaze softened. "I'm not asking for forgiveness, Yin, for everything that's happened. I know I was wrong, but now, I just want the two of you to be happy. That's all I want." Yin bit her lip, holding back the emotions threatening to rise. "All right, Dad, we'll head off first." Jungkook's voice finally broke the silence. Yin's father nodded. "Take care on the road." Jungkook and Yin both nodded and began walking toward the car. Her father stood watching their backs, a faint smile on his lips.